Hello and welcome to episode 114 of Daryl Show Your Work. So, finishing up on the overall theme of post exploitation, I am going to be diving into pivoting in this episode. So, since we are dealing with post exploitation activity, I'm going to preface this video with the usual disclaimer that this is for educational, ethical, and research purposes only. Any sort of malicious actions that may directly or indirectly come from someone watching this video, I do not take responsibility for, nor do I condone. All right, so just to give a brief overview of what pivoting is, it's a post exploitation technique that involves utilizing a compromised host to attack another system on the compromised host's private internal network. So that's why you see here on my screen where I've done some pre-recording discovery that I have two targets here. So for first, I'm going to compromise target one, but the focus on compromising target one is then to get to target two, and I'm going to show that we can't actually immediately access target two. So we're going to go for the low hanging fruit and target the target one machine so we can ultimately get to target two. All right. So in order to show you what I mean, so I'm going to ping. Actually, I'm going to ping both. All right. So let's do a ping dot. Um, let's do a ping to the first uh, to the first target. All right. So I'm gonna just send. I'm gonna say count. I'm gonna say dash C. That's to get count, and I'm gonna just send 4 packets to the first target. All right, you can see that we're getting some responses back from me sending those ICMP packets. Now watch what happens when I do the same thing to the second target. So I'm gonna try to send 4 packets there. Let's see what happens. All right, so we see nothing. We're dead in the water. All right, so just give it some time, and it's gonna come back and tell me that it was unable to get anything. So that's the point. So the idea is that, and we can see, yeah, 4 packets transmitted, 0 received, 100% packet loss. So evidently there's some sort of protection there, and I'm trying to get around that protection. That could be firewall, that could be well, it's on the same network, but it could be something that's causing me not to be able to access that machine. I'm trying to get around that protection, and to do that, I'm going to compromise the first machine and get on that network, and then find a way into the second, ultimately to the second machine. All right, so to get started, I'm going to jump right into the Metasploit framework. All right, so I'm going to start up the PostgresQL database here. All right, then I'm going to combine that with the step to open up the MSF console. Excuse me. All right, so now that I'm in, I'm going to create a workspace for myself. And I'm going to say dash A, and I'm going to call this simply pivot all caps. All right. All right, and then so I won't be usually the next step I would usually take is setting the remote host as a global parameter, but I won't be doing that in this video due to the fact that we have actually two targets, and so I don't want to set one as a global parameter when I'm going to have to give some of the modules that I'm going to be using later on the second target's IP address. So I'm not going to set that as a global variable, and I'm just going to set that manually within each module that I use here. All right, so let's do an mmap scan here, and let's see what ports are open here on our first target. I'm gonna do a service scan. All right, actually, that is not the first target. So let me copy. All right, there we go. And let's get that running. So I'm gonna be looking I'm gonna be doing the the rejetto, the usual rejetto exploitation here. And the reason I'm taking us through this throughout this whole thing, 'cause I think it's important for us to see the compromise of the first machine and see and show how that feeds into the compromise of the second machine. So usually I just usually start up these videos after so many videos on the same subject matter, starting us at interpreter, but I decided I'm going to start us all the way from enumeration. Just give it a few more seconds here. All right. So it looks like we have that port 80 and that HTTP file server running. It doesn't specifically say rejetto, but I'm going to use the rejetto exploit on here, and I have a strange feeling that it's still going to work given that 2.3 version, and I know that is the version of rejetto that is vulnerable to that attack. All right, so let's say search for rejetto. All right, so I found the tool. So I'm gonna say U0. All right, now I am going to have to set up the RHOST in this since I haven't set that up as a global parameter. So I'm going to say RHOST. All right, then let's give it target one's IP address. All right, and then, we can verify just to show that, just to verify that it is running Regetto. We can always just go to the IP address here and take a look. And we can see that indeed that is running at HTTP file server 2.3. If I click on it, Regetto. All right. So that verifies that is indeed using Regetto. All right. And I'm not just shooting from the hip here, making assumptions. All right. So let's exploit that because there's no other parameters that I need to set. All right, looks like we're going to get our first interpreter session here. All right, now let's do some more enumeration of our system here. Let's get some system info. All right, so I'm running a 32-bit version of Interpreter on a 64-bit version of Windows Server 2012 revision 2. Not too important in order for me to run certain commands to pivot. All right, so no biggie here. All right, so now I'm going to start I'm going to start trying to actually gain access to victim 2. So in order for me to do that, I'm going to say, let's see, I believe I can run ipconfig from here. If not, I'm going to do shell. All right, yeah, so all right, I was able to do ipconfig from interpreter. All right, so with the idea is we want to be able to verify what interface that it's running this on. It looks like it's running on interface 12 here of the different interfaces that came up when I did an ipconfig on this machine. All right, so this is target one's IP address. All right, so knowing that the second victim is on the same subnet, I want to create a route using the network range that it's on. And that way I'll be able to access the whole subnet, and that's going to give me access to that second machine. So in order to do that, I'm going to say run Autoroute. Hold on, let me just, when I did that, ran that first command, let me see. Okay, no, it didn't give me. Okay, never mind, I just wanted to check something. Okay, run Autoroute -s. All right, this is where I specify the, well, hold on, let me give it, I'm gonna give it the network range of the second IP address. All right. All right, so I'm gonna tell it 0 here. All right, and again, so that's gonna create, again, what this is doing, it's gonna create a route using the network, this network range. And again, it's gonna give me access to the whole subnet of, it's gonna create a route to the whole subnet of all the machines that are on here, and that's including the victim two's machine. All right, so it looks like that went through. All right, so let's background interpreter. All right, and then so I want to name these sessions. So I'm going to name this particular interpreter session. Let's see, I'm gonna say sessions dash n, lowercase n. I want to name this victim dash one, and I want to specify that session one that I'm naming that. All right, so if I do sessions, we can see here that I've named this session victim one. Okay, so this is going to help me to keep track of the various sessions that I'm going to have here and not necessarily get confused about which session is running what. So we know that this is a session with victim one's machine here. And I meant to mention earlier that I was able to create that auto route because I have administrator privileges on the machine. So it's always good to have the certain amount of privileges, have those elevated privileges in order to run certain commands. Okay, so I'm going to actually look for now a port scan. So I want to be able to do some sort of enumeration on this second target to be able to see what ports are open, and then once I'm able to see that, then I'm going to get a bit more information about the services running. So I'm going to look for a port scanning module here. All right, and then the other reason why I'm using this too is because Autoroute only works with modules within the Metasploit framework. So that's another reason why I'm going to use a port scanning module versus just running a nmap scan. All right, and you're going to see some other reasons, some other methods behind my madness here. All right, so I want to do a TCP scan. All right, so we can see here with module number 5, that's what this is. So I'm gonna say use 5. All right, now there is some configurations that I'm going to have to do. So I'm gonna say show options so we can see what those are. So we already know that RHOSTS is going to be one of those, since again I did not set that as a global parameter, because in this instance now I'm going to have to give it target two's address here. So that's exactly why I didn't do that in the beginning. So I'm going to say set RHOSTS, and then I'm going to give it it's the target two's address here. All right, and then we notice that the port range here is ports 1 through 10,000. I'm going to reduce that down to ports 1 through 100. All right, because I know I'm not trying to enumerate that many ports here, that many services. So I'm gonna say set ports, and I'm gonna say 1 through 100. All right, we're going to reduce it down to that. All right. See, as far as anything else, no, it looks like we're all good to go. So let's run that and let's see what we get back. Let's see that, make sure that auto route is working. All right, good. We have an open TCP. All right, so good. So it looks like that auto route is working. So I'm actually able to scan, did a port scan on that second host now. Remember, originally I did not have access to that and I could not reach it. I couldn't even ping it. All right, so I was able to scan it and see that it has one open TCP port, which is port 80. All right, so that lets me know that I can that I should at least be able to be able to run it um um be able to do something against port 80 here, okay? Because that's open. Now, one thing I wanted to show too is that even though I created an auto route through Metasploit here, if I still try to access this second IP address, I still can't get through it through my browser. All right, so it's that really that auto route that I'm running within Metasploit that's giving me access to um, to this second machine. Okay, so in order for me to do some deeper enumeration to be able to see what services are actually running on port 80, I'm gonna actually have to do something called forwarding. And what port forwarding is, it's a network trick that tells my router to send incoming internet traffic for a specific port to a particular device instead of my private networking, which bypasses normal security to allow external access for things like online gaming, remote desktop, and hosting servers. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to associate the port 80 on target two's machine with an open port on my machine, and then I'm going to do an nmap scan on that open port on my machine, but it's really going to be scanning the um, the port 80 on the other machine. All right, and this will make sense as I'm setting it up. All right, so in order to do port forwarding, I have to jump back into my to my interpreter session here. So that's going to be sessions one. All right, so I'm gonna say port FWD for forward and add. All right, I'm gonna say dash L. So I want to, so this is where when I say dash L, this is where I'm going to specify what port that I want to associate port 80 of the other machine onto my machine. And I wanted to associate that forward the traffic of port 80 to port 1234 on my machine. All right. And then I'm going to say on the victim two's machine, I'm specifying port 80. So drive port 80 traffic to port 1234 on my machine. All right. And then I have to give it the IP address that I wanted to do this for, the traffic that I wanted to route the traffic for. All right. So that's our second victim's IP address. All right. Let's hit enter. All right. So it's created a relay for that, TCP relay for that. All right, so I'm going to background this and we're going to test this out to make sure it's working. Now I'm going to run that nmap scan against port 123 of my machine and see if we could get that HTTP information for victim 2. So let's see, let's run a send packet scan, and a version scan, and I want to specify the port. I only want it to give me back output for port 1234. And I'm going to scan. It's another thing I meant to mention. So in order to scan and do an nmap scan on my machine, I have to say local host, or I would have had to give it my IP address, but my IP address should appear under local host. All right. So that's basically telling nmap scan to scan port 1234 on my machine. Since again, the traffic on the port 80 is now being routed to port 1234 on my machine. All right. So I'm gonna hit enter and let's see what we get from nmap. All right. So if we notice that right here, so it looks like it's running that bad blue HTTP 2.7. We know that what that's vulnerable to. All right. So now, see, I've been able to not only port scan this now because I've done that port forwarding. Now I can actually see the services that's running on port 80 of that victim 2, but I had to forward it to my IP address. Excuse me, my port 1234 here to be able to see that. Now I know how to target um, um, now I know how to target victim 2 here. All right, so as always, I'm going to search for bad blue, and I am going to do the usual pass through buffer overflow exploitation here. So I'm going to say use one. All right, so again, I have to set my R host since I did not set that as a global parameter in the beginning. So let's give it the second victim's IP address here. All right, and then I'm actually going to set the L port to something else because if I go to show options, all right, so we can see L port is set to 4444, but if I do sessions, we can see that that's already being utilized by my first interpreter session here. So we want to set that to something else. So I'm gonna set that to 4433. So let's set the L port to 4433. All right, and then I need to set up a payload with this because usual reverse TCP payload is going to work with this. So I'm gonna do a bind TCP payload. So I'm gonna say set payload Windows interpreter. Let's see, that is the bind underscore TCP. We're going to set that as a payload. All right, then I should be good to go as far as exploiting this. So let's see if we can get that second interpreter session here. May take a few seconds here, so just gotta be patient with it. All right, let's see. Let's try to troubleshoot. It should have done something by now. I'm gonna do a Control C. All right, let's see. Let's do a set target to 0. All right, then I'm gonna say show options just to make sure I didn't forget to configure anything. No, everything is good. All right, so let's just try again now that I've set that to 0. There we go. Okay. Maybe that was the issue. I needed to set it to 0. There we go. So we got our second interpreter session here. So let's name this. All right. So we can keep things nice and organized. So I'm gonna say sessions dash lowercase n, and I want to name this victim dash 2. All right. Then I'm gonna say I, and then we want to specify we're talking about session 2. Oh, you know what? I have to background that. Okay, hold on. In order to run that. Okay, now let's run that. So, all right, we want to do a sessions victim dash 2. Then we want to specify we're talking about session 2 here. All right, so if we do sessions again, see we have victim 1, victim 2. Then we can see that we have 2 different administrator accounts here. But I'm going to just verify those differences here. So let's go back into sessions 2, and we do some compare and contrasting. All right, so I'm in that second interpreter session. So if I do sysinfo, all right, so we can see the system information here. So this is actually running Windows Server 2019, all right, and have a 32-bit interpreter session with that. If I do background, all right, now if I say sessions 1, see I could just jump between the sessions now, sysinfo. All right, so we can see we have 2 different computer names here, and we have 2 different operating systems here. All right, so we can see now that I have access to both 2 different systems now within the target network, and I could just jump back and forth between those machines now. All right, so this is what pivoting looks like. All right, so don't want to run through the whole gamut of what I did here, but basically I compromised system 1 using that HTTP file server rejetto exploitation. And once I did that, then I had to since I knew the addresses that I was targeting, I had to do a auto route to the subnet to the second target, and so that allowed me then to do a port scan of that particular device. And once I was able to do that, then I knew what ports I could forward that was open on that machine to forward to my machine. And once I forwarded that traffic, then I was able to do my regular numeration using nmap. And then I found that bad blue running on it, and then I knew how to exploit that. And once I exploit that, now that allowed me to have access to the second machine, and now I could literally pivot from one machine to another, and I have access to 2 machines on one network. So that is pivoting post exploitation. Please like, share, and subscribe. Most importantly, show your work. And until next time, take care of yourself and God bless.